friends, welcome to Yanantin Alpaca. My name is Evelyn, and today I am going to tell you a story. When I lived in Peru, I used to go to the market all the time, literally all the time. You'd find the most funky, special, unique items for basically nothing. Everything there, of course, was super cheap. So this one day, I find myself walking around at the market, and I see this lady selling 2 sweaters. Yep, nothing more, nothing less. She had 2 sweaters for sale. So I was interested, and I was just looking at them and chatting with her, and she told me that they were 100% alpaca wool, and also that they were $8 each. So I didn't really believe the 100% alpaca part, but of course I'll take a sweater for $8. And you know, with these colors, who needs alpaca wool anyway? So here I am, I'm super happy with my sweater, and I used to wear it, or I still wear it all the time, and it's super comfy and it's super warm, although it's a little prickly. And by a little, I mean actually quite a lot. It's super prickly. So I figured immediately after buying it that it wasn't 100% alpaca wool, which I'm totally fine with because, like I said, look at these colors. So one day I decided to wash my sweater because I had kind of forgotten that it was supposed to be 100% alpaca wool. So I threw it in a washing machine, and an hour later I take it out and something terrible had happened. My sweater had started to felt. Now, as you can see, the white part in the middle looks a lot tighter than the parts around it. And this is because that part apparently indeed was 100% alpaca wool. The lady didn't lie. She was actually selling me a sweater with alpaca wool in it. So, what happened when I put it in a washing machine? It had started to felt because that's what wool fibers do. And before I forget, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I would really appreciate it. Felting is produced by matting, condensing, and pressing the fibers together. So, as you can imagine, this is exactly what happens in a washing machine. It gets wet, there's even soap with it, and it gets tossed around, so there's friction all over, and then it gets pressed together with like the centrifuge and everything that a washing machine does. So my colorful sweater ended up being like a doormat. Now there's actually 2 different ways to look at felting. There is the deliberate way and there is the accidental way. And like I said, I wasn't really aware of my sweater being 100% alpaca wool. So obviously the accidental way is when you put it in the washing machine without realizing what is happening. Or even if you do that on purpose, then it's probably not the desired effect that you want. For wool fibers to felt, it is interesting to know why that actually works that way. So I'm going to share my most beautiful piece of art with you, and I hope that with this I can explain you why alpaca woolen fibers felt. So as you can see, the top fiber is like a smooth fiber. So this is basically all man-made fibers, not natural fibers. Natural fibers are mostly a little coarser than man-made fibers. So this could be polyester, for example. Then the one below that is alpaca wool. And as you can see, it has a fiber with a couple of scales, as we call them, and they define the fiber texture. Alpaca wool has a very fine fiber texture, and if you compare it to other types of wool, you will find it a lot finer. It's not the finest though, but it's definitely generally a fine fiber. And as you can see at the bottom one, it might be a little hard to identify, but that's like a coarse fiber with a lot of scales, and you will find that for any fiber that is coarser than about 30 microns. Actually, coarser wool takes longer to felt. So it makes sense that alpaca wool felts more easily than other types of wool. And as you can see in my sweater, it is the fine part of the alpaca wool that has started to felt and not the parts around it. Which could still mean that it is actually still alpaca wool. It's probably just a coarser type of wool. Whereas the white part in the middle is a finer, has a finer micron count. As you can imagine, those scales, when they are pushed together and there is friction, and then add water to it and add a little soap to it, when you push them together, the fibers interlock, the scales basically interlock, and that causes the fibers to interlock. And once they got interlocked, there is no way of unlocking them. So One of the big benefits of alpaca wool is that it is generally really soft. Most alpaca wool has a fine fiber, which means that it is below 30 microns, and that means it is very comfortable to wear. One of the downsides, however, is that a fine fiber is much more likely to felt, and that could potentially be disastrous for your garment. So if you own an alpaca woolen garment, make sure that you do not put it in the washing machine. Let me repeat, do not put it in the washing machine, because the water and the friction will cause it to felt. And even if it's just a little bit, it is such a pity, because your alpaca woolen garment just looks so much nicer without felting. Alright guys, there are so many more benefits to alpaca woolen items. Click the video up here to see what else there is out there, and I hope to see you in the next video.